The film opens by showing the South Korean national football team in the middle of a big match against another country. The game is intense, played hard, with high tension between every player on the pitch. Early on, the Korean team is overwhelmed, getting attacked relentlessly by their opponents. Then, in one key moment, the two Korean defenders manage to intercept the ball and launch it far up the field. Two players are already waiting up front, Hongdae and Sungchan. As it turns out, these two are the superstars and aces of the team. Sungchan is positioned closest to the goal, which means in that moment, he is the one most likely to score. But for some reason, the arrogant Hongdae suddenly comes sprinting up from behind and selfishly tries to steal the ball away from his own teammate, Sungchan. And because of Hongdae's foolish move, the Korean team fails to score the goal, and they end up losing the match. After that, the film cuts to a press conference where Sungchan and Hongdae, the team's superstars, are being interviewed. How would they respond to such an embarrassing loss? As it turns out, after a match like this, any player who performs well and scores a goal could get noticed and recruited to a better club. And that is exactly the reason Hongdae had been so selfish, wanting to steal the ball from Sungchan, because he desperately wanted to score a goal under his own name. Because at an age that is no longer young for an athlete, Hongdae is still obsessed with playing for a better club. On top of that, right now Hongdae is in serious need of the money from that match's bonus. A lot of media outlets and fans believe that Korea's loss was caused purely by Hongdae's ego, since he had deliberately stopped his own teammate from scoring. During the interview session, Hongdae is also goaded by one of the reporters. The spiteful journalist baits him, prying into the personal problems of Hongdae's family. The reporter asks, cutting deep, "How about your mother, who is currently a fugitive wanted by the police for running a massive fraud scheme?" The truth is, Hongdae's life is incredibly complicated right now, because his mother constantly cons people and constantly burns through Hongdae's money. Because of that, Hongdae is forever haunted by his mother's debts, and he needs a lot of extra money to cover them. Unable to accept it and feeling provoked by the reporter dragging his mother's shame into the open, Hongdae flies into a rage. He sees red, and he does not hesitate to lash out and injure the reporter's eye, jabbing at it with his fingers. Soon after, footage of Hongdae's violent outburst goes viral everywhere. His name is dragged through the mud even further, and Hongdae is officially suspended and kicked out of the Korean national team for his reckless behavior. After that string of events, Hongdae's career instantly collapses. He loses all of his money, which his mother had quietly run off with. On top of that, Hongdae now has no income at all, since he has just been let go by his club. Hongdae's manager is at a loss too, until finally, his manager comes up with a ridiculous idea for how to rebuild Hongdae's image and reputation. The idea is this: for the next few months, Hongdae has to become the coach of a Korean national football team, but one made up of homeless people. As the story goes, that year, the country of Hungary is hosting the very first Homeless World Cup, a tournament whose participants are representatives of the poor and homeless from various countries around the world. At first, Hongdae of course flatly rejects the idea. His pride gets in the way. He is not a homeless beggar, so he feels like coaching a team of homeless people would be beneath him. But his manager convinces him, pointing out that Hongdae's image is in shambles right now and that he is in desperate need of money. His manager says, cutting deep, poor people can't afford to be too idealistic. Because of that pointed jab, Hongdae reluctantly agrees to take on the job, becoming the coach for a World Cup of poor people. All of it done purely for the money. The next day, Hongdae is introduced to a broadcasting agency. This agency's job is to document every part of Hongdae's coaching journey, because the plan is for Hongdae's heartwarming story of caring for and training homeless people for the World Cup to be turned into a documentary reality show, which could then be used to repair and clean up Hongdae's name in the eyes of the public. There, Hongdae meets a young, ambitious woman from the agency. Her name is So-min. So-min is directly in charge of producing this documentary. So-min explains to Hongdae that the video is expected to be a huge hit and capable of repairing Hongdae's image, so he can eventually be called back to play for the Korean national team again. Afterward, So-min shows him the audition footage of the homeless men trying to play football. Watching the video, Hongdae is instantly shocked and gets a headache, because their skills are absurdly, hilariously bad. After all, they are not actual footballers. They are just homeless people gathered up off the streets and suddenly told to play football. As hard as it is to train these homeless men to play, Hongdae has no choice but to go through with it. Because once again, he badly needs the money, and he has to pay off the loan shark debts his mother racked up. A few days later, Hongdae finally begins his work as a coach, accompanied, of course, by So-min, who is always right beside him. chattering away with her camera to document every single thing Hongdae does. Hongdae tries to coach this thrown-together football team with all the patience he can muster. To make matters worse, the players have no foundation whatsoever in sports, let alone football. Every one of them plays terribly. They cannot even kick the ball properly. Then the film gives us a bit of background. It turns out that the men who made it onto Hongdae's homeless team are all people whom life has beaten down and labeled as failures. The first member is an older man named Hwan Dong. He used to be wealthy, a CEO who owned his own company. But because of his addiction to alcohol and his womanizing, he eventually fell into poverty when his company went bankrupt, and his entire family came to despise him and abandoned him. In the end, Hwan Dong was left ruined, living alone on the streets. Next is a hopelessly lovesick man named Byum-soo. He is a fascinating character in his own right. He is secretly in love with a woman who lives with a mental health condition. And because of that devoted love of his story becomes something remarkable. Next is a gentleman named Hyo Bong. He is far too kind and naive, which is why people often take advantage of him. Because of that, he got swindled and fell into poverty. In the end, his wife and child left him because his wife chose to remarry another, more financially stable man. Then, there is a man named Moon-soo. He used to be a fearsome gangster, but after experiencing trauma and struggling with bipolar disorder, he too ended up impoverished and is now a dazed man living on the streets. The next day, they scramble around in search of a replacement player, and one candidate emerges as the best of the bunch, a young man who sells magazines on the street named In-sun. The next day, the team goes to meet In-sun. It is clear that In-sun is a deeply introverted person. He seems very shy, awkward, and quiet. He earns his living selling newspapers and magazines on the roadside. After being offered a spot on the team and promised a chance to travel abroad, In-sun fortunately agrees. The next day, In-sun jumps right into training with the team. And with that, the Big Issue football squad is finally complete. They are all incredibly fired up to take on physical training, constantly working to improve their stamina and skills. In-sun, especially, who ends up being slotted in as a striker, keeps stubbornly pushing through every training session, learning to kick the ball properly so he stops missing every time. During a training break, Hyo Bong is quietly visited by his daughter. It is clear that Hyo Bong's daughter still deeply loves him, unlike his other relatives. Hyo Bong's daughter is aware that her parents are now separated, but she clearly cares about and misses her homeless father very much. Yes, even though Hyo Bong's siblings and ex-wife no longer care about him and find him repulsive, even constantly looking down on him, his daughter still believes that her father is a good man. Even though her father is often dismissed as a fool for being too kind and easily deceived, his daughter still loves him. Next, the scene shifts to show So-min and Director Hwang. Director Hwang is the person tasked by the foundation with finding sponsorship funding for this homeless football team. But unfortunately, on this day, the sponsors pull their support and refuse to keep funding the Big Issue football team because of some bureaucratic problems and lingering negative sentiment toward Hongdae. Of course, Director Hwang feels stressed and hopeless because suddenly they have no money left, and they are at a loss as to how the players' dream of reaching Europe can survive without operational funding from a sponsor. After that, the film shows the Big Issue team, who have started to feel skilled and challenge another team to a scrimmage. But comically, they end up scrimmaging against a youth academy team made up of little elementary school kids. Hongdae set this up for a reason because the Big Issue team is frankly a bunch of clueless players. They are still stiff and have no grasp of proper football tactics. And sure enough, Hongdae's prediction came true. Up against these little kids, the team of homeless men gets thoroughly demolished, left huffing and puffing as they struggle to keep up. Next, the film shows So-min. She gets a panicked phone call from Director Hwang, telling her to come to the office immediately. Director Hwang tells her that the sponsors really can no longer fund their team's trip to the World Cup. Because of that, So-min is also thrown into confusion, unsure how they will be able to continue producing the documentary about this team's journey to Europe. But Director Hwang promises that he will push hard to find an alternative sponsor as soon as possible. In the middle of all this scheduling chaos, Hongdae suddenly gets another phone call from his mother. Crying, his mother tells him that she has now been caught by the police and officially thrown into a jail cell. With a heavy heart, Hongdae rushes off to visit his mother in prison, and there, the two of them meet. Playing the victim, his mother pleads pitifully, hoping that Hongdae will hand over a large sum of bail money so she can be released from her cell. After listening to all of it, Hongdae, who has always been so patient and silent, finally erupts and pours out everything he feels. He is deeply disappointed and exhausted by his mother. Because once again, ever since long ago, he has been the one forced to carry the burden of his mother's foolish mistakes. Especially now when his career is in ruins and Hongdae no longer has any savings left. In the end, Hongdae firmly tells her that he truly cannot help her anymore, and he immediately turns and walks away, leaving his mother behind in the visiting room. On his stressful walk home from the prison, Hongdae suddenly sees the woman Byung-soo loves being harassed and bullied by a group of delinquent high schoolers on the side of the road. The delinquents are cruelly mocking and tormenting the woman Byung-soo loves, purely because she lives with a mental health condition. Seeing this act of bullying, Hongdae, who is already weighed down with worries and has lost his patience, immediately steps in and tries to chase the delinquents away. But instead of backing off, the delinquents get cocky and start mocking Hongdae's profession and his suspended status. Having run completely out of patience, Hongdae, without a second thought, gets into a fight and slaps the delinquents around right there on the street. The next day, it turns out that Hongdae's fight with the delinquents the night before has gone viral in the media. Unfortunately, the kids play the victim and claim to be the ones who were assaulted by Hongdae, even pressing charges against him with the police. Because of this, Hongdae's name is dragged down even further, branded as a washed-up athlete who beats up kids. So-min and the other football team members try their hardest to explain to the police that Hongdae only hit those kids because they had been bullying and harassing a woman beforehand. But the police do not believe them, because there is no physical evidence that the harassment actually happened. Until finally, So-min and her friends go to find the woman and retrace the scene where it all happened. Fortunately, there they find an eyewitness who had recorded the whole thing that night. So-min immediately has a brilliant idea. She puts together a special documentary video containing the original footage of what happened that night, and uploads it to YouTube so that Hongdae's name can be cleared. The video is finished and uploaded straight to YouTube, and against all expectations, the video explodes and goes viral. Of course, this restores Hongdae's image in the eyes of the public. At the same time, many people finally become aware of and start caring about the homeless football team that will represent the country at the World Cup in Hungary. Thanks to the video going viral, the sponsors finally come flooding back in, and the financial problems surrounding the homeless team's trip to Europe are finally solved. And because the video of Hongdae saving that woman went viral, Hongdae is now seen as a hero by the public, and his name becomes famous everywhere once again. The next day, Hongdae is informed by his manager that a major television program wants to sign him to a contract. His manager tells him that this job will pay Hongdae an enormous amount of money. But unfortunately, if Hongdae chooses to take this exclusive contract, he will not be able to go and coach the homeless football team anymore because the schedules clash. Hongdae is torn, and he admits that he does not have the heart to abandon this team. But once again, his manager works to brainwash him, telling him that Hongdae is too kind and naive, when in reality, Hongdae desperately needs a lot of money. Better for Hongdae to forget his sympathy for the homeless team and focus on taking this gig for the money. The next day, while coaching the team on the field, Hongdae is visibly unfocused because he is so conflicted. On one hand, he badly needs the money to bail out his mother, but on the other hand, he does not have the heart to abandon the team he has built. By the late afternoon, once training is over, Hongdae gathers all the players together. So-min is there too. With a heavy heart, Hongdae tells them that he will be stepping down as their coach, effective that very day. After hearing that announcement, all the team members, So-min especially, are of course shocked, because they never imagined Hongdae would be heartless enough to abandon them halfway. Hongdae finally bows his head, says his goodbyes, and leaves. Of course, all the team members are devastated. So-min immediately runs after Hongdae. There, she lets out all her disappointment, saying she cannot believe Hongdae would actually decide to leave the team. But in the end, Hongdae does not come back, and So-min is forced to understand his reasons for leaving, because Hongdae really is broke right now and in dire need of money. A few days later, the film shows Hongdae finally using the money from his contract to pay his mother's bail, and his mother is released from prison. That day, Hongdae finally sits down for a meal, just the two of them, at his apartment. After eating, the two of them happily watch old recordings of Hongdae's matches from his days playing for the national team on TV. His mother tells him how proud she is of him, and she remembers clearly that ever since he was little, Hongdae loved football. But in the middle of that relaxed conversation, his mother casually remarks that it would be better for Hongdae to leave the world of football behind forever, and to move into the world of television entertainment instead, because Hongdae's name is viral right now, and he would surely make far more money there. After hearing his mother's words, Hongdae feels as though he has been slapped awake. It turns out that all this time, his mother never cared one bit about Hongdae's feelings or his passion. All she ever wanted was for Hongdae to make a lot of money. Hongdae starts to think. It seems his decision to take the television program and abandon the team was a huge mistake, because he should have stayed true to the one thing he has always loved: football. A few days later, the time finally comes for the homeless football team to depart for Hungary from the airport. Unexpectedly, on the day of departure, Hongdae suddenly shows up to meet the team, looking sharp and cool in a neat suit. He immediately smiles and tells them that he has turned down the television program so that he can go and coach and take part in the World Cup alongside this homeless team. Of course, all the team members instantly erupt in joy, So-min especially. And so, together, they fly off to compete in the World Cup in Hungary.
In Budapest, Hungary, to announce the hosting of the 2010 Homeless Football World Cup.
The World Cup matches finally begin, but unfortunately, because the Korean team squad is so inexperienced and lacking in skill, they get demolished by huge margins from match to match, losing by lopsided scores to teams from other countries. Until they reach the final match, where they have to face the tournament favorites, the team from Germany. Before the match begins, Hongdae gathers and motivates his team members in the locker room. Hongdae tells them that all this time in real life, they may have always been seen as failures, trampled on, and left homeless. But at the very least, here, they have to prove that in this match, they can put up a fight. Even if a win for our team sounds impossible, at the very least we have to fight to the very last drop of blood, Hongdae shouts. Because of those words of encouragement from Hongdae, everyone becomes fired up, determined to prove to the world that they are not failures. The match begins, and sure enough, the Korean team gives everything they have to hold back the wave of their opponent's attacks. They are willing to fall, crash to the ground, and bleed. Some of them even end up wounded and injured in the middle of the field. Old Hwandong, who had previously injured his leg, boldly insists on being sent into the game because several team members have already gone down with injuries. Because of the Korean team's extraordinary perseverance, all the supporters in the stadium begin to feel moved and start cheering on the Korean players. Because it is so clearly visible that this squad of older men from Korea refuses to give up, willing to do whatever it takes to hold back the opposing attacks. Of course, that perseverance sends the supporters' enthusiasm soaring. Even supporters from other countries join in, chanting in unison to support and cheer on the Korean team. Until finally an unexpected miracle happens. Through an epic counterattack, the Korean team dramatically manages to score a goal of their own against Germany. At the end of the match, even though the Korean team is ultimately declared the loser by a wide score against Germany, the Korean team succeeds in winning over the hearts of every supporter in the stadium, because they managed to show the true value of skill and the courage to never give up. The World Cup tournament finally comes to an end. Even though they did not win many matches, because of their fighting spirit, the Korean team manages to earn a special award as the most popular team of the entire World Cup. Once the tournament is over, the documentary that So-min created and filmed is finally released. And afterward, all the team members finally return home to Korea with their heads held high, slowly beginning to rebuild their lives into something far better and more dignified. At the end of the film, we see the release of that documentary, which proves to be a massive success, touching the hearts of all the people of Korea. Thanks to the sincerity in his heart while coaching that team, Hongdae finally has his image restored, and he is called back to the Korean national team once again. And yes, that is the ending of this heartwarming film. It shows Hongdae finally able to return to being a professional football player once more, just as he had always dreamed. Thanks for watching, and do not forget to catch our next video.